So once you've loaded a production, how do you know what is being controlled from the different areas of the console surface? Well, there are a few key things to look at. So on our channel bays, we have immediately instant feedback from the metering. I can see here exactly which channels are mono and which channels are stereo just by looking up at the input metering. If I had a 5.1 return coming in here, I would also see 5.1 metering. Each fader can also control a different type of channel. So this is an input, it could be a VCA master, it could be a group, and I can tell that instantly from the colour of the Lavo backlights. So in white, we have the input channels. In this area here, I have my VCA masters. In this area here, my groups, which default to be yellow, and anything in red is usually a sum fader, so that would be my main outputs. I can also look at the fader label displays. So these are showing me at the moment the channel types. Here is just showing me it's an input channel, a VCA, a group, a sum, but what is that actually controlling? Well, I can switch to look at the label that I've entered with the Inherit Source button here. As soon as I switch and look at any user labels, then I will see the label that's routed to the channel. So in our example, we have some guest microphones and a presenter. These VCA masters have been named, so I know this VCA is controlling my band, my stereo music playbacks, the studio microphones and the audience. And I know, for example, here that the two red faders are my stereo program and my 5.1 program output. If we come back to the fader strip area, I've then got direct access from the free controls onto certain parameters. And these are color-coded, and they follow the colouring in the central control section. So, for example, I can see because this control is blue, it's going to be adjusting an EQ parameter. And if I look more closely in the display, I can see it's the gain for EQ band 3. The magenta colour tells me it's a dynamics parameter, and if I look in the display, I can see that it's compressor threshold. Whenever you touch a control to adjust it, you'll then see the value of the parameter. So moving up the fader strip, the channel display forms a key part of the information for this channel. We have label information at the bottom, which is the same here as on the fader label display. So it's another indicator that the input routed to this channel is a guest, or in this example, a presenter. Key information here is the channel metering, and this will be mono, stereo or 5.1 depending on the format of the channel. You can also touch the display in this area to change the pickup point for the meter. At the moment I can see on this channel it's metering post fader. You can also assign your bus outputs from this area by touching the display and making a selection. And you'll see different numbers of buses depending on what you've defined in your production. So in this example, we have a 5.1 sum, a stereo sum. We can see our first 20 auxes and we can see our first 8 groups. I can also see in the N-1 area that these 3 channels have been configured for a mix minus. And running across the top of the channel display, I can see that these faders are being controlled via VCA master. The masters have been called mics, music and band. If we move into the center section, then I have my 16 main fader strips, and if I want to see similar information here as on the channel bay, then I need to select the main faders page on the central GUI. You can do that by pressing the metering button. There are actually several pages of metering which you can configure. Keep pressing the button until you see main faders, and then this will show you channel metering and bus assignments, and also things like the label for whatever is assigned to that main fader. If a channel strip isn't assigned, isn't controlling anything, then you'll see the MC256 logo in this area of the display. On my main faders here, you can see I've got a mixture of different channel formats, types and formats. So I've got my stereo program, a 5.1 program output, I've got a stereo group, and where I have some VCA control masters, I'm able to see the metering for the first 8 slaves, which that is controlling. So in this example, my VCA master is controlling all the channels of a band, and I can see that the band is playing. Whenever you touch a fader, it highlights that section on the main or the channel displays. So I can see immediately my eye is drawn and focused in to this VCA master.